Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard Live. I am Precious Tripodi, and of course, we're beginning with Today in the News, and of course, happy 1 year anniversary to Nigerians. I mean, it's been 1 year since the president assumed office, and also it's been 25 years of democracy. What have we enjoyed in these 25 years? I mean, that's for you all to tell us. All right, so we'll move straight into the papers this morning, starting off with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with a strike looms as minimum wage talks end in deadlock again. Rider says federal government OPS adds 3,000 naira to earlier offers. Labour challenges government to break down offer. Nationwide strike appears inevitable in June. Organized labour's demand may endanger job security, and that's coming from OPS. And we can also see photo story showing at Vanguard 2023 Personality of the Year Award, some of the awardees. On page 8, the federal government now has enough to clear debts, and that's come from WALE EDUN. Biafra Day, IPOB insists on May 30th sit at home in Southeast. Stories above 6 things Tinubu must do to succeed, and that's coming from article. KANO Emirates TUSSLE, court gives conflicting orders on Sanusi's removal. The Tinubu effect, 365 days on Tinubu's bittersweet run. Inside the Vanguard, you can read more on that analysis. And on sports, we have 2026 WCQ, Osime out of South Africa Benin Games. And that's all we can take. We'll take a look at the Punch newspaper. The Punch is leading with Tinubu's first anniversary gift. Federal government plans a fresh cash transfer scheme for 75 million Nigerians. And stories above Emirates Tussle by Aerospace as gives conflicting orders on Sanusi. Minimum wage talks collapse again as Labour rejects 60,000 naira. Move over to The Guardian. The Guardian is leading with opposition loyalist Bika outlook. Another strike looms as Labour rejects the federal government's fresh 60,000 naira wage offer. Where is President Tinubu's renewed hope agenda? And that's on the editorial of The Guardian. 4,416 persons killed, 4,334 abducted under Tinubu report reviews. You can read that on page 3. Kano royal crisis get messier as court issues a conflicting order. On The Nation, we have our nation's economy growing, says Edun, 75 million to get cash transfers. Oyetola, we've raised marine revenue by 92%. Under APC primary, my respect for Tinubu absolute, says Jimo. And lastly, on the front page of The Nation, Emir crisis, conflicting orders of court in Kano. And that's how we can take on the front pages of the papers. Join us after the break. We'll be right back. Alright, welcome back. If you're just joining, it's still Today in the News on Vanguard Live. I am Precious Tripodi, and joining me to talk about some of the stories on the front pages of the papers this morning is Mr. Gbero Olajigbe, Executive Director of Emergency and Risk Alert. It's good to have you join me this morning, and happy 1 year in office to you.
It's really happy 1 year of President Tinubu in office, and of course 25 years of quasi-democracy.
Yeah.
So it's a pleasure being with you.
All right. Let's start off with minimum wage talks. What's your take on minimum wage negotiation between the federal government and Labour? The government increased the offer to 60,000 naira. What's your take on the negotiation? It ended in deadlock again.
Well, I have said a lot about this. One, no amount is too big in this type of economy that has created. But then, will it be realistic to say that you want to pay a certain amount of money by the federal government and the private sector are not able to pay, or the state governments are not able to pay? So what I will just advise for now, because all of us have been forced into a very difficult box, to the extent that the economy is not free. And of course, accessing basic things, particularly food, is very difficult now. Maybe, provided the government is ready to mitigate the impact of its policy environment, it could jack up the minimum wage to 100,000. To me, I think it's not enough. It's not sufficient. But then, possibly manageable by this thing. But what my problem with the labor unions, I have said this several times. When you are negotiating wages, one of the conditions should be that the public servant wages, that is political office holders' wages, should be brought along, so that no president, if, for example, a president can earn more, about 50% more than what the permanent secretary is earning. Just like that, until it gets to the legislators, and that should not be more than 10% of what permanent secretaries are earning. That is how to do things. Everybody must make sacrifice. If you wake up an American today, he will tell you that I know what President Biden is taking. The salary of an annual salary of an American president is $400,000. It's $400,000, and this is known, and it's not a recent thing. It's not what you review every time. Many Americans earn more than their president. Many Americans earn more than their president. And look, this is the same government that is proposing 60 million salary for a set of judges, particularly justices in the Supreme Court. So it's a very disproportional arrangement when you juxtapose what is being given to a civil servant to what is given to judiciary. I don't think judiciary has contributed anything of reasonable value to Nigerian system in terms of development, even within this democracy. Aside from the type of injunctions we are witnessing now in KANO, and injunction and counter-injunction, that is ridiculous. That is it's not putting us in good light that we are seeing it from KANO. What has judiciary done that you have to pay them 60 million naira per annum and 5 million per month, and then you have to pay a set of Nigeria 60,000 naira? It's unacceptable. There must be, look, this disproportion should not be this wide. One of the reasons for existence of government, is to bridge the gap of inequality. Inequality is a driver of underdevelopment. We must appreciate that. The gap between the poor and the rich in Nigeria is too wide, and that is why you have sundries of crisis, conflict, and violence that you have today. A set of people, a percentage, very few percentage of the people are made to be at the apex of pyramids, while large majority of Nigerians are condemned to absolute poverty at the base of that same pyramid. It cannot catalyze development. It cannot even crystallize growth. So it defies economic sense and logic. When you choose to pay some people millions of naira and you can't pay 60,000 to some people, you can't pay 100,000 to some people. So that is the discrepancies that is creating chaos and social anomaly in Nigeria system. And this is the reason I'm suggesting that anytime, not only the civil servant wages should be reviewed, the public servants, all the ministers, this thing should be brought, should be reviewed. You can't have a minister earning close to 1 million naira, and the other one, the highest paid director, is earning 250,000 or less than 300,000. It's unacceptable.
Right. In your own view, what are the alternative solutions, that could break the deadlock?
The alternative is if President Tinubu should reflect and think now and say that he has, with whether Dangote or everything, dedicate percentage of barrel to Dangote and then bring the pump price of petrol to something like 250 naira per liter. It will affect or it will impact on cost of living. It will impact on what you call prices of basic items. That is even triggering the need for salary increase or salary raise in the first place. So if such thing happen, imagine a situation now that the yam you are buying in 500 because of transportation costs, you are buying now for 2,000. Nosedive to something like 500, and so with other basic materials. So labor will be prepared to even take even the 60,000 naira. But when you have a situation where prices of basic commodity are astronomically going up and in a very geometric proportion, while the salary is becoming arithmetical in terms of its progression, there will be problem. So it's that time, if Tinubu can create a better policy environment that accommodates access to basic needs, environment that take off, there must be capping on the amount of school fees that children should pay. Not that one school will rise up and say that students to come and pay 1 million, 2 million that they can't afford. So government should be able to put capping. It's done in United Kingdom. So they put capping on school. Even though it's expensive, they don't pay the same thing as foreigners there. And some schools, particularly in Scandinavian countries, they are absolutely free. So nothing is free in Nigeria. You have to provide for everything, including security. It will maybe if you review what the people, according to the report that came out early this week, over 4,000 Nigerians have been killed since Tinubu in the last 1 year of Tinubu, and 4,800 have been kidnapped under this same regime. That means that your security and your protection is in your hand. So what is government using all the money for, including the tax and everything that they are putting on people? So the poor can hardly survive in Nigeria of today. To cook a pot of soup now, you need an average family and an average person needs nothing less than 15,000. Maybe family of 4 and everything. I'm talking about a pot of soup that will not last more than 3 or 4 days. So how do you continue to exist and like you have not even gotten the whatever you want to use for it? How will that type of salary sustain you for 30 days? Transportation, look at the astronomical cost of transportation. And of course, housing too. Rentage is something else. And these are the poor, the wretched of the heart we are talking of. So how are they going to survive? How are they going to send their children to school? Those are things that you should consider. Holistically, before arriving at a harmoniously agreed minimum wage. And then, private sector should be taken into consideration because cost of production is already high. The alternative is for them to lay off workers if they cannot pay minimum wage.
All right.
Which is not a palatable one for Nigerian economy of today.
All right, Mr. Benro, okay, let's delve into the president's 1 year in office. How would you describe, the president's 1 year in office?
Well, it's a mixed feeling. Mixed feeling in the sense that it started wrongly, but then it's still better than Buhari. It started wrongly without giving consideration to policy implication. But suddenly, without a single minister, without anybody being with him, without cabinet, without policy advisors, without any staff, he came up to declare a policy that was undemocratic, that was dictatorial, that was hegemonious, that was act of tyranny. So it didn't start well. because he didn't behave like a Democrat when he announced the removal of subsidy, because that policy was not discussed with anyone. He took the decision on his own, and on the day of his swearing in. That is not an hallmark of a Democrat. Policy are meant to be discussed, to be debated, to be viewed, to be reviewed, to be reflected on, and of course, to know the consequences of such policy for the wider society, particularly the poor. So his policy, ab initio, was not pro-poor, and the people were deceived that it was only the rich that will suffer it. But all that has gone into history now. The poor people are the burden bearer of his wrong policy, of his obnoxious policy. So he didn't do well there. But even though if you have idea, if the idea is good and the environment, every policy must be adaptable to the environment and must be adaptable to large population of people. That is how you get good policy. Not by saying that, oh, this thing is good. It's not about good economically, but socially. The social consequences of this policy is what we are seeing in terms of crisis, in terms of criminalities and crime that is going on in this country today. So, to that extent, it didn't start well, but he can do better since he has just spent 1 year in office, and that has overshadowed his performance in other areas. For example, his commitment to development of infrastructure has been overshadowed by the fact that large population of Nigeria are suffering. They are in agony. Are they going to hit coastal road? That is the question. How long are they going to send their children to school with coastal road? That is another question. And that coastal road, and that is one of the weaknesses of his policy behavior. He didn't discuss it. And Nigeria, up to now, nobody can assess environmental impact assessment of that humongous project.
All right, Mr.
What happened to faunas and saunas in the of the area? What happened to the creaking life? What happened to the amphibian there? What is the implication for fusion in terms of ocean wave, in terms of ocean tides that could eat into the coastal highway? What will be the maintenance choice and things? What happened to the people that are living around that area? Are they going to become the newly flood plain? The environment, is it going to be liable to flood again? So we have not seen that environmental impact report of environmental impact assessment. This thing should not be, it's not a hidden thing. Anywhere you have project in the world, you can search and you read, and then you'll be able to make informed comment whether the government is right or wrong. So there's nothing you do, particularly on environment, that has no impact on society, negatively and positively, but in most cases, negatively. And then when you know this impact is negative, what are the plans to manage those negative consequences? We have not seen that. And that is the singular most important project that he has initiated today.
All right.
And then we want to be able to make comparison to the cost. Why should a kilometer construction cost 4 billion naira? Is that so anywhere? Nigeria is not the only place where coastal road has been built. You have coastal roads even in Benin Republic, linking other West African countries. So there's nothing wrong in being able to assess all these issues so that Nigeria, we know that we have transparent, open, and accountable government in place. So we have not seen that, and I have not seen that myself.
All right.
So those are minus of his 1 year in office, and like I said, his ability to initiate such projects is equally commendable.
All right.
And there is progress in areas of in terms of particularly in the Ministry of Interior. The passport issues have been addressed. And
Yes, Mr. Brown, I was going to ask
problem of
you.
minimum.
So I was going to ask you, what are the accomplishments that you think this administration can consider extremely significant in the last 1 year?
You know, there are two things I used to that guide me when I want to measure achievement of a government. Number one, which is constitutionally recognized. Those two things are constitutionally recognized, and they are the central rod of governance. Number one is welfare of the people. He has not done well when you take the welfare of the people. When you take second, security of the people. Well, why it is better than that of Buhari is security. His security intervention is better than that of Buhari, but he has not gotten it. I just told us that over 4,000 people, according to a new report that just came out, has been killed violently in Nigeria. That shouldn't be. It's too high. And National Day of Money is being mooted. And then you have a situation where over 4,800 persons have been kidnapped in the last 1 year. In the last 1 year. That is frightening. That is very, very frightening. So we should look at those loose buttons and begin to tight them now. But then, how do you tight the cases of insecurity if people are helplessly hungry? If they are left with no choice than to commit crime to exist or to live? Those are issues that they should tackle now. So I don't know what the coastal road has not been completed. We can't say that that is an achievement yet. Whether it will become another white elephant project, we can't say. And the second one is that, like I have said, in the area of passport, international passport, which is purely elitist, there is improvement. So it's not, it has nothing to do with the common man. To that extent, to that, if I'm to judge, well, it's elitist, but he has done something there. The roads are still bad, in fact, very bad. Some roads are being, they are being replenished now, particularly in Abuja, the Abuja city. I'm talking of central areas. The road have been rebranded by the minister. But then if you go to the interior part, that is outside the city centers, to go and work there so that people can be sufficiently and link with the city center from the suburb. That one has worked well. The Attorney General, in terms of his policy move, in terms of desire to reform law, I think it's making sense. So from that, Attorney General is performing in terms of delivering on justice. He's doing his bit. And another person that I see that has the Minister of Information, the Ministry of Information, even though there are cacophony of issues with communication to the people, the fact is that the Minister of Information is calmer than the previous one. He doesn't trade in lies. He tries to give out information, even if those information are not sufficient to people. Those who are to hate him, that is advisors on information, special assistants on information and everything, they are not doing well at times. They are not doing well. For example, let me give you an example. The other day, Mr. Bayo Nanuga was condemning Atiku's position on Tinubu's policy. It's not his work. That one should have been left to if anybody wants to talk at all, let it be the work of APC communication officers and not that of government. government, no matter how hard the criticism, should reflect on them rather than throwing it away and abusing the person that is giving other option or even condemning the government. So from that area, they have not done well. Information has not, communication has not been managed well. But information has been is betterly presented when you compare with what happened in the Buhari regime.
What is the public's sentiment regarding the President Tinubu's performance in last 1 year?
You don't even need sentiment. It's the reality that hunger is walking on the street of Nigeria. So nothing explained better than hunger, than the young people that are roaming about without job or even support from government. Those are testimonials to what Nigerians are going through. Nigerians are, for example, there are systemic injustices. You put people that don't have sufficient light on band A, and even the same people in the same house, they are paying different. One is in band A, one is in band B. What type of country runs like that? And secondly, when you look at it broadly again, the issue of student loan is unacceptable. You are subsidizing Hajj with 90 billion naira, and you are dedicating 5 billion to student loan. Is that a country that is serious about youth development? Does that look like a country that's serious in terms of budgeting for what is likely illegal? Because Nigeria is a secular state, we don't have budget for any particular religious body. What you can do, you make it pleasant for people going to Jerusalem through your diplomatic work to have safe, secure, and peaceful environment, even as they go with their money. Those going to Jerusalem, do the same thing for them. You have no business funding religious activity in Nigeria. It's unacceptable, and it's illegal, and it's immoral. The injunction, even in the Holy Quran, is that if you have money to go, the fifth one is that if you have strength to go, you can go. So it's a personal commitment to your religion if you want to go to Mecca or Jerusalem. Government has no business with that. They should stop wasting public funds on inanities.
All right. In what ways do you would you say that the President Tinubu's administration sought to promote transparency and accountability in governance?
I've just said it. It's not. It's opaque. The government is still opaque. It's not transparent. If it's transparent, you should have known everything about Coastal Highway today. When they started, Umai came out that Nigeria is not going to pay a dime. That is for, aside from creating environment for private people. But today we know the story. The story is that it's the government that is funding it. It's the government that is funding it. No private sector anywhere supporting from what we have seen so far. And secondly, the cost is too astronomical. When you juxtapose it with other coastal road construction in other lines, it's too astronomical to bear. Thirdly, the history of the contractor. The history of the contractor you have given it, high-tech construction, and not among others. We don't have their history. We don't know until recently when they are okay, Shankori and Shankori, Tinubu's son is part of them by Atiku and everything. Is that what you call transparency? That is impunity. It doesn't matter whether Tinubu's son is in the subsidiary. As long as it's in that group, that is a soulish state. So it's a kind of malfeasance that should not happen. Of course, you can see how corruption is being fought too. Over 6 months, he has suspended Better Edu. But where are we on Better Edu today? Where are we on better edu? Is that how to fight corruption? Okay, there was a failed attempt to arrest Yaya Bello. Where is Yaya Bello today? Powers EFCC was investigating Matawale, and Power was removed. Matawale was made a minister. Where is the transparency? So we are still engaging this thing. It's a night market. A night market being patronized by blind people. It's fortunate that Nigerians are so indolent. Nigeria don't challenge anything. Nigerians don't care about their country. They don't care and bother about government, what the government is doing. All these things they need to be interrogated. If we have active citizenry. So Nigerian citizens are extremely passive. In fact, they are ultra passive to the extent that anybody can do anything and get away with it, even in democracy. Then look at what is happening in KANO. That tells a lot of story about our justice administration system, about the type of shenanigan that is going on, whether in the judiciary, in the legislature, that actually suspended somebody that who was largely a whistleblower, Senator Abdul Ningi, without investigation, without admitting of error, without correcting the error. So what are we talking about? Corruption. Corruption, in fact, I have to quote what Sheikh Musa, may God bless his soul. Sheikh Musa, the former chairman of Nigeria Population Commission, Makaman Bida, he said in Nigeria, officials are not only corrupt. Corruption is also official in Nigeria. And that trajectory is what we are still trailing today. We are still on that same trajectory of corruption being gradually and almost irredeemably becoming a Nigerian itself.
All right.
So it doesn't shock once again. Whether it is corruption in fighting war on terrorism, corruption anywhere, if they don't choke Nigeria again, whether on the road. You see people going on the road asking, police ask for money. We want not drive, I give them. After all, you collected this from us and that and everything. So it has become a way of life in Nigeria, and it is one of the reasons for constitution and government. The purpose of government is to abolish corruption, and that is why we have it in our constitution, expressly stated.
All right, Mr. Gbenro, looking ahead, what are the main challenges and opportunities President Tinubu's administration should anticipate in the second year of his presidency?
His second year starts midnight, a minute after midnight today. He is going to start the second year of his government. What I will advise him is that he should reflect on the policies so far. He should not rush anything. There are ways of mitigating all these things. Because you can't justify a situation where lawmakers are cutting away over 38 million every quarter home, and Nigeria are languishing in agony. That is not a democracy we envisaged. It should reflect on that. It should reflect on the fact that legislator has no business with the so-called constituency project. That is legitimating corruption. You are putting legitimacy to corruption by accepting that. You should equally look at how do we now reform judiciary. For example, in the last 2 days, about 4 orders have been given by federal and at the same High Court of coordinate jurisdiction. In the same case in KANO, it's a disgrace to judiciary and to everyone that have connection with justice administration system in Nigeria. It should look at how to reposition Nigeria's security architecture People don't feel safe. That is the fact. They feel that government cannot secure them. I don't actually feel secure. There was an incident last night. I had about 12 midnight. I called police with the number because I have those numbers. In that area, I called police. Police did not respond. But astonishingly, this morning, 8 o'clock, police used the same number to call me. I didn't even pick it. When you needed them, they were not available. Those are issues. Those are issues. And in the past, to be fair to this police, there was a time there was a set of robbers that wanted to invade one of my friend's place. I used the number about 3-4 years ago to call the police. The police attended immediately to go there. I have to drive to their office the second day to go and thank them. But last night, I'm telling you, immediately after 12, I called them for a sort of security breach for them to address. Nobody picked the call repeatedly. But this morning, around 7:30, they are calling back. What of if the person had been killed within the night? So I didn't even bother to pick again. Those are issues that we need to engage in this Nigeria. You can't call 911 we have to, with speed, rapid response. Children will be kidnapped 24 hours. We are not there. We are not following them. They will be kidnapped in hundreds. We can't rescue them. And we'll be talking grammar, how we have done well. Those are bagadash. So my advice for him this time around is to ameliorate the consequences of this policy that has further impoverished Nigeria. Nigeria are so poor now that they cannot take more. They cannot take more. So you should look at what he can do to ameliorate the problem. And his policy should not be about tax. Tax in a productive economy is a good instrument for development. Taxing people in a productive economy, but taxing people in an environment where production is not going on is economic witchcraft.
All right.
And that's what is going on now. There must be production before people pay tax. People must be engaged in job, appropriate job, commensurate job that is called job, so defined, not underemployed before you blow them out of existence. And these are the people that you have diminished their savings. I've said it before Tinubu came in. If you are having 10 million in your bank account, the truth and the 10 million is still in your account now. What you are having in recess of it is no longer 10 million. The inclusive value of your money now is 4.9 million. That's your 10 million that was there. And May 28. It's no longer 10 million that is there now. Anyway, market will tell you when you get there.
All right, Mr. Gary, let's take a look at Mr. and Mrs. And Mrs. is speaking this morning. She says that from the look of things, your friend's wife is sorry for her actions. She really cried her eyes out. And Mr. responds and says, my friend said as an experienced zookeeper, nobody can deceive him with crocodile tears.
Well, whether crocodile or not tears, any type of tear we see now, we should try to understand the person. It could be real tears. People are going through a lot, but we assume that nothing is going on as long as we are okay. People are not okay. The other day I parked somewhere around area 11, particularly at Efa Plaza. I was just responding to a mail. Somebody just knocked my car. He just give me money forcefully. I didn't answer because I was vulnerable at that point. I was inside car. He was looking wide. I didn't talk. I have to gently open and everything, keep a distance and be assured that I'm safe or I can fight back. And I told him that I have to take it. What is the problem? He said he hasn't hit him. But I didn't want to give the impression that I have money. I took him to one place they are selling food close to that place, take away and everything. I bought for him. And many Nigerians are like that. Assuming that that is not done, it could be wild and violent and just waste your life anyhow. And assuming that place is not a bit of public space. So we have a lot of problems, social challenges that are going on. And one of that is that we have to, at the family level, we should try to moderate it by understanding the time we are in, the season we are in, and to offer our shoulders for people to cry on, whether the tears is crocodile or lion tears.
All right, thank you so much, Mr.
So, Mr. and the Prince,
yeah.
Best of luck. Happy
1 year anniversary. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Benro Lajigbe, Executive Director of Emergency and Risk Alert. Thank you for sharing your thought with us this morning.
It's a pleasure being with you.
Yeah. Also, remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on